got the Spurs game in the League Cup, a game I'm a little bit apprehensive about, nowhere near as confident as I was when it was drawn. But joining us again on the We Are West Ham podcast, returning guest, friend of the show, sports journalist from the Daily Express and huge Tottenham fan, it's Alex Milne. Alex, great to have you back with us again, mate. Thanks for joining us. When the draw was made, I'll be honest, I was mouth-watering tired. We'd already beaten Manchester City at home and Man United away in the League Cup. You weren't playing too well at all, and that's putting it lightly. Since then, our form's gone a little bit damp, squibby. You, all of a sudden, have sort of look a far more professional outfit under Antonio Conte. And all of a sudden, it's a game, to be quite frank, I could do without.
Yeah, well, I'm suddenly randomly looking forward to it all of a sudden. I don't think it might be something to do with the change in fortunes of the two teams, but no, I think it will be a good one. I think, interestingly, the fact that we've been so unceremoniously dumped out of the Conference League today gives us more of a motivation for this game, really. Also, the fact that City are out of the competition kind of, I guess you guys feel the same, but there's now much more of an opportunity to go on and win it. You think, while City are there with their recent record, you think, well, as soon as we play them, be it the final, semis, whatever, it's definitely going to be a defeat and it's just going to be a whole waste of time. But now you look at the teams left in it. Okay, there's Liverpool, who are obviously on their day, much better team, but we've seen it the weekend. We can go toe-to-toe with them on our day. You've got Chelsea, as we know, they're having a really rotten run of form. So suddenly the competition's opening up and you think, well, three wins away from a cup that any cup, obviously, we've wanted to win for a long time now. Same as you guys. So it should be a really interesting one. I think it's not going to be a walk in the park for us at all. We all know that West Ham love to raise their game against Spurs. It could be a bit of a mishmash of two teams, COVID permitting. We've still got players who aren't at full fitness, who might just be easing their way back in. So who knows? It's anyone's guess, but it should be a tasty one at least.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. I mean, as far as we'll get into the nitty-gritty of the game, what you think about the competition, whether Conte want to win it, all that, we'll do that in a little while. But first of all, what do you make of what's happened to your club recently? I spoke to you towards the beginning of the season, very disenfranchised with what was going on at Tottenham from top to bottom, really. And the anger was not really directed at Nuno. A bit of it was, obviously, but it seemed to be that the focus had switched to Levy. Now, it's almost like you got to the party a bit late and you should have just hired Conte in the summer to save yourself that few weeks of pain and faffing about. But what have you made of Tottenham, sort of probably since the last time we saw you, but certainly the beginning of the season, and sort of how it's transformed from the calamitous start into where you're at now?
Yeah, I think, like you said, there is still anger at Levy because you do think this could have happened in the summer. I mean, there's all talk about maybe Conte needed a bit more time. Whether you buy that or not is a different story. But it does feel like it was a few months just wasted with Nuno. I mean, me and you, Will, were at the Spurs-Arsenal game when Arsenal absolutely battered us 3-1. And the difference in the body language of the two managers, I mean, maybe it sounds like a bit of a cliche, but you do just want a manager on that touchline who's going to demand a bit of passion, who's going to really seem to want to fight for the cause, who's instructing their players. And you saw none of that with Nuno. All we saw from that game was Nuno with his arms folded, seemingly without a plan, without players who were going to want to play for him. All of a sudden, we've got this, let's be honest, one of the very best managers in the world. Quite how we've got him in, I'm still not sure, because we were a farce when he came in. But the change has been extraordinary. You see players like, I don't know, Harry Winks, who haven't played well, frankly, for a year and a half. You then see him go up against Liverpool and arguably our best player on the pitch. And part of me thinks, well, how much can a manager improve a player in that short space of time? But the effects that Conte has had on these players has just been remarkable. And sure, it'll probably come crashing down at some point. We're obviously going to lose a game soon. I'm not saying at all that we're going to be in the hunt for the top four come the end of the season. But I think as a fan, all you want to see at the moment is progression and a clear plan. And it looks like we've got one now. And that has just completely transformed everything. And the optimism now around the club is a million miles away from where it was 2 months ago. And to the point where you can look forward to a game against West Ham on a Wednesday night as opposed to absolutely dread it. So long may it continue. Being a Spurs fan, we know it probably won't, as I said, but you got to dream as a football fan, haven't you? Always got to dream.
Alex, you mentioned there about players up in their game. I think one player that had a good game against Liverpool, I was watching it, was Dele Alli. And weirdly, West Ham have been linked with a move for him. Do you see him having a role for?
Absolutely no chance.
Yeah, apparently we're looking at him if we can't get Lingard, which I find bizarre. But do you think that players like Dele Alli, and I've seen Sessegnon's been given a chance as well, this is a great opportunity for them to actually show that they've still got a Spurs future, because they've been written off with the likes of Nuno earlier on this season.
Yeah, I mean, Dele Alli is a really interesting one, because at the weekend, I still don't think he played that well. There were obviously improvements. There was signs of a little bit of promise, but he's still just lacking that something that he had a few years ago, whether it's that last killer pass, whether it's that little bit of confidence to take something on. I mean, he obviously missed that great chance. You could argue it was a really good save from Alisson, but I still think the Dele Alli of the past
Should have finished it.
Yeah, should have finished it, exactly. Yeah, I can't see him going to West Ham. I just think if we know that like Daniel Levy's a massive fan of his, regardless of how he's playing, I just think he still sees a player there, a really marketable player who could possibly come back. If we're going to sell him, I don't see Levy selling him to one of our biggest rivals, where, like we saw with Lingard, he could go on and really impress, and we end up looking like mugs. I mean, Newcastle's been another possibility. I think that'd be potentially a bit more likely than West Ham, for obvious reasons of the rivalry, like I said. Does he have a future at Spurs? I think the next few weeks basically are a massive part of that, starting with West Ham. I think he's one of those players that probably should start against West Ham, and if he goes and has a good game, then he can press on from there. But part of it might be a little bit, basically we're down to the bare bones, and he was all that's available to choose against Liverpool. But certainly intriguing to see how his career takes on here, because he's running out of opportunities, really. But yeah, Liverpool was a good start back onto his redemption, maybe.
What are your thoughts on the whole Conference League thing? Because I said to a mate of mine earlier, it seems like how the mighty have fallen, going from Champions League finalists to being dumped out of the Conference League. But all my mates of Spurs fans are absolutely delighted that they've been kicked out, and because it's just one less competition to worry about. Is that your thought as well? Is that
it's brought nothing but embarrassment, is it? Really?
I mean, to anyone outside of Spurs, it's like everyone's pointing and laughing at you, but from every single Spurs fan I've spoken to between, since the announcement, and it's all been, we're absolutely delighted about it. Thank God for that.
Honestly, I'm not just saying this. From the minute we got into that tin pot competition, I just want to get out of it as soon as possible, because there's no benefit to going anywhere in it. If we won that competition, you lot would still be mocking us, going, "Oh, Spurs finally won a trophy, and it's a kids under 10 trophy sort of value." It is. There's tin pot, and then there's the Conference League. Like, I've been following football for a large part of my life, and there's teams in that competition who I've never heard of, and it's just
you got beat by one of
who
them.
Beat you? Yeah,
yeah. That's what I mean. So it has kind of worked out ideally that we've been chucked out, but we can kind of use the it's COVID, out of our control thing. But no, genuinely, I think it will serve us much, much better to have those midweeks free, again, to maybe focus on something like the Carabao Cup or the FA Cup. With all the postponements, we couldn't have been able to juggle all those competitions. It would have been a nightmare. And I think, frankly, for a coach of Conte's esteem, he will value much more just having those players on the training pitch in those days, rather than playing Balkan Islands FC or whoever we would have had next round. So, really, I know it sounds like it's just sour grapes, but I'm delighted we're out of it, and I think it's all ended up quite convenient in a way.
Lads, the holidays have come early this year, as our partners Manscaped have the gift that keeps on trimming, with a whole host of male grooming products on offer, from the Lawnmower 4.0 to their new refined cologne and everything in between. Manscaped have got everything you need to make sure you're looking more Michael Bublé and less Santa Claus this holiday season. And in the spirit of Christmas, you can get 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com with the code WeAreWestHam. That's 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com with the code WeAreWestHam, all one word. Now is the perfect time to get yourself or a loved one the gift of shaving. I am talking about the Manscaped Performance Package 4.0. The Performance Package 4.0 is the best in the business. This hygiene bundle includes the Lawnmower 4.0, the Weed Whacker, a pair of boxer shorts, a travel kit, and liquid formulations.
Yeah, for those who don't know, the Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer is waterproof with advanced skin-safe technology to reduce nicks and cuts, and it even has a light to help with all those little dark spots down below. And then there's the Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer with its proprietary skin-safe technology that helps prevent nicks, snags, and tugs. Also in the Manscaped Performance Package 4.0 is Crop Preserver, which is a spray that protects against chafing, the Crop Reviver, which will ensure things down there remain fresh at all times, and then there's the Foot Duster, which will make even the ugliest of feet, like mine, look and smell lovely, and much, much more. And to top it all off, you even get a shed travel bag so you can carry all your precious Manscaped products in style everywhere you go. So to get your hands on the Manscaped Performance Package 4.0 and to see all the other lovely male grooming products they have on offer ahead of the festive season, head over to manscaped.com today. And remember, get 20% off and free shipping with the code WeAreWestHam. That's We Are West Ham, all one word. We Are West Ham. It's 20% off, free shipping at manscaped.com. So go on, make Santa proud and cement your place on his nice list this Christmas by joining the Manscaped movement.
Yeah, it's just one of those things, isn't it? Where, because we were saying last season, we're like, oh yeah, give us a Conference League. If when we weren't sure where we were going to finish in the league, we're saying, yeah, give us it. But that's a different mindset because we haven't had any European football for so long. We're just like, yeah, we'll take it, whatever. We'd have been out in Muir away and all that sort of thing. But yeah, I just think it's another misstep by UEFA. Obviously, it's financially driven, of course it is, like all these decisions are. In the end, it wasn't too long ago that the UEFA Cup, which is just the Europa League, was like a really coveted competition that teams would really want to be in and really want to win. But that was when it was on the same nights as the Champions League. Then they allowed more and more teams into it, which just waters down the quality and makes even the teams who are involved, certainly the better teams, go, oh, for God's sake, you've got to go through quite a few pointless games, really. But in the old format, when it was the UEFA Cup, it was just good teams against good teams for most of the time.
Yeah. I mean, I'd still love to be in the Europa League. I think when you get past that knockout, the group stage, it's a really good, entertaining competition. And as we've seen, you could get Barcelona, all sorts of huge teams. So I wouldn't turn my nose up at the Europa League by any stretch, but yeah, we just don't need this other competition below it. It's just too much, and it's one that most Premier League teams, I think, should be looking to avoid because it's just not helpful in any way.
No, that's the thing. And I mean, when it all come out, it's you and Roma, and everyone was saying, well, Tottenham will lose in the final to Roma. Like you'll get, and again, I know it's semi-joking, but it would have been pretty classic Tottenham, wouldn't it? And all it then ends up being isn't, like you say, another missed opportunity to win a tournament, especially a Tin Pot one. And if you win it, everyone sneers at you anyway. And all you've done is played, God knows how, I don't know how many games it would be to get to the final, but in the region of 10 to 12, I would imagine, extra games in your season. Half of those are flying and traveling away. Yeah, I agree, really. And again, I think it would be even a pretty big change of mindset, Jonesy, I think, from West Ham fans as well, wouldn't it? Where if we got in the Conference League next year, us who've been in the Europa League for one season would be going, really? Wouldn't we? No?
Maybe after about 5 years. I don't know. No? I'd still be like, it's still Europe. Like, we can't. Like, it's different for Spurs because they've been in the Champions League final about 3 years ago, wherever it was. Whereas for us, it's like, well, we've only been in the Europa League for 1 year. Like,
yeah.
It just lessens your chances of then getting to Europa League for next year because you've got this other competition to contend with. I'd rather just stay out of Europe for a year and try and get back in Europa League or Champions League rather than have this sort of Tin Pot equivalent.
Anyway. Yeah, you just get into like a little bit of weird little limbo. Well, look, mate, let's look forward to the game Wednesday night, Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Like we said already, the mood has switched, I think, among fans of both teams. I remember when the draw came out, you were like, oh, God, here we go again. I was delighted. That switched from both of our perspectives for the reasons we've covered already. Our form a little bit flat at the moment. But, we know it's a bit of a cliche, but when West Ham play Tottenham, they're big games. Whatever competition they're in, they're big games. They mean a lot to both fans, despite what Tottenham fans might say. It doesn't mean anything to us. Oh, the scorn the spammers. All of that sort of rubbish that usually comes out of those of a North London persuasion. But let's be honest, we all know it means a lot to both sets of fans. How do you see the game going as far as like style wise goes, selection wise from Conte's point of view? We're saying now that given our form's dipped a little bit, we've got a lot of games coming up. We're still in the Europa League as well, and it's almost like, unlike when the draw was made, perhaps Will or Moisey particularly will, given that we've had a few injuries, it will all of a sudden become less important. Big game because it's Tottenham, but the competition as a whole, it might be he'd be less disappointed perhaps to go out than he would have been when the draw was made, for example. But how does it sit from a Spurs point of view, fans, and how do you think Conte will approach it?
I think we'll sounds like a cliche. I think we'll really want to win it. I just think, for reasons I said earlier, it's such a good opportunity to win any sort of trophy. It's so not easy, but it's easy, definitely the
doable,
easiest trophy to win in terms of games played, and the draw can fall your way in a nice manner. And the next thing you know, you're in the final. I think we saw at the weekend we played pretty much on the counter attack against Liverpool, but we did it very effectively. I think this game will have more of the ball. It wouldn't surprise me if we play our best team. So you got Kane up there and Son, I'd have thought would start the game. But I think it could be quite insane. We know our Conte has improved the defence a lot, but it still can be got at. We saw that over the weekend. Still saw the likes of Sanchez having some kind of dodgy moments. Davis looked a bit unconvincing at times. And I'd have thought your forwards with your talent can certainly still get out our defence. Again, it's one of those that if you lose, it's not the end of the world. And so there shouldn't be any sort of tension about losing the game. But if you win, it's a bonus. So it wouldn't surprise me at all to see a kind of high-scoring game, maybe a 2-2 going to penalties or a 3-2 one way or the other. I just got a feeling it could be a cracker. Shame I can't go with you boys, unfortunately. But, work schedule works out that way, but I certainly wouldn't want to be near you crowing if you do get there and go, oh, we're massive, we're getting to a final. Let's hope for a good one either way.
Yeah, not your favourite thing to do, is it, be around me when West Ham beats
Just in general, mate, to be honest. But
yeah, that is true.
When West Ham playing well.
That is true. Well, look, mate, it's brilliant to have you back on the show again. You've sort of alluded to it already, but before we let you go, it's West Ham away at Tottenham in the Carabao Cup quarter-final on Wednesday night. What's your score prediction?
I'm going to go 3-2 to the mighty Tottenham.
3-2 to Tottenham. Jonesy?
I'm going to go 1-1 and then a win on penalties.
A 1-1 and a win on pens. Nice. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know. I've got a feeling it might be attritional. I think we'll just go wanting to sit behind the ball. We won't make the same mistakes we did at Arsenal. I can't see us scoring again. We're just in a flat run of non-scoring form at the moment. Even if Antonio plays our only striker and he's playing awfully. So we haven't got much going forward. So a proper attritional one. I don't know. Somehow we'll fluke it 1-0, I reckon. I don't reckon that will happen at all. I actually think it'll be grim and we'll lose 2-1. But never mind. Well, look, Alex, brilliant to have you back on the show. Alex Milne there, sports editor at the Daily Express, big Tottenham fan as well. Great to have you back joining us on the show.